America's accountant, the numbers are right for this guy, Dan Geltrude. Dan, thanks for coming on a Friday afternoon. I know you're busy. What are the financial and economic ramifications from some of these proposed policies? We know about DOGE and cutting all the costs, but what would mass deportations do? How much of immigration has affected inflation? I know I have my ideas, but I'd like to hear yours.
Well, as far as illegal immigration, let's start with this. Those people don't belong here. End of story. End of story. And it's black and white. However, Scott, things are not always black and white. And what we have to look at here is that, let's say you actually deported all the illegal immigrants. And I get some of them are bad people and criminals and so on. But I would guess that the vast majority are people actually trying to do what our ancestors did, come here for a better life. And they're working. Now, if you remove all those people from our economy, Scott, that is problematic. Look, we do not have the population growth in this country that we should. So we need immigration. It's got to be done the right way. However, if we just drop all of these people out of the economy, it's going to create a severe problem because supply is going to drop. For example, there's been discussions about, well, it's all the illegal immigrants that are impacting housing and the cost of housing. That may be true in part, but really, to me, we need more houses. Who are the people building the houses? I would guess a lot of these people are part of that process.
Yeah, I think that. I'm gonna jump in. I've heard those same stories. I've thought a lot about it. We talk about it in our editorial a lot every day. I mean, if you're an illegal immigrant, I don't know. It's pretty hard to buy a house. I mean, you got to get a bank to lend you the money. You got to be, you got to have a job. You got to have a pay slip. I mean, that's pretty hard. In part, I'm sure it has something to do with renting. Yes, renting, absolutely. But owning, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. But again, the housing problem that we have, Scott, is simply not enough supply. End of story. So we need more housing. Who's building the houses? That's where I think the immigration issue really comes into play as far as impacting the housing market.
Good point. Yeah, because that's the labor that's going to build the houses. Is that where you're going with that? Yeah, that's a good point.
It is.
Well, and another problem with that, too, though, is, Dan, we go back to some of these processes. Regulations. We can't – some of the regulations on building these new houses, you can't have this, you got to have that, you can't have this. I mean, it's almost impossible. I mean, try building something in Southern California right now with all the regulations. I mean, that's why I think Elon said it was easier. It took less time to send a spaceship in the sky than it did to get authority or regulations to do that in California, right? He had to ask so many. It's so way easier. And that's going to be one of those problems, I think, that is housing. I mean, we have too many regulations that are really throttling the building of houses. And until that comes down, it doesn't matter who you are. It's going to be a problem.
Yeah, and I think, Scott, when you look at this new administration coming in and why it appears like everybody is really getting amped up, we see it in the stock market right now. What's behind that? Look, it's pretty simple. He's promising tax cuts. There's going to be tax cuts. What they look like exactly, don't know, but they'll likely be pretty substantial. Deregulation. That's going to be huge, Scott, as we were just talking about. And overall, it's all about common sense. And I think that we've really lacked that from an economic standpoint in government. What's wrong with drill, baby, drill? Right? So let's get on with it, because inflation, which has been killing us the last 4 years, when you and I have talked about this.
Yes.
Energy is behind a lot of that.
Everything.
So if you're going to increase the production of energy, Scott, costs are going to come down.
All right. I got 10 seconds. How long does it take for this to happen?
I'm going to go with 2 years.
Bingo, bango, chicken mango. You got it right. I say so, too. I think the market's expecting a lot sooner than that, though. That's going to be a problem. All right, Dan, thank you very much for being on. Dan Geltrude from Nutley, New Jersey.